Hey there, artist! Today I'm going to teach you how to create a coil pot. These are two examples of coil pots that I've made. This one obviously has paint on it and this one does not. At the end of class today, this is what we will have. And then next week we will paint our coil pot. The first thing I need to do is get a piece of paper to put my pot on. And so I get my paper and I get the first one on top. I get what I get. And I don't throw a fit, that's right. I need to write my name. And then put a circle with my teacher code. Then I will give you a piece of clay, either a ball of clay, or I might give you a package of clay. If I give you a package of clay, just take the clay out. And the first thing we need to do is just warm up our clay. Just take the clay out. And the first thing we need to do is just warm up our clay. All right, now that my clay is nice and warm, I need to divide it into 7 parts. I need 1 part for the base of my clay, and I need 6 parts for the coils of my clay, which are the different layers that we have here. 7 equal parts. I'm going to do the best I can to make 7 equal parts. Okay, I have 7 parts, but I also have some clay left over. And I need all of my parts to be equal, which means the same size. So I don't want to have any extra clay because we need to use all of our clay to make the best pot that we can. So I'm going to take little pieces of this clay and add it to my other pieces to make them all about the same size. Great. Now I believe I have 7 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fantastic. My first step is to create the base of my pot, and here's how I do that. I take 1 piece of clay and roll it into a ball. Then I smash it with this part of my hand and my thumb into my palm, kind of like a pancake, or maybe a tortilla. And I can pull it up and keep going back and forth, making it bigger. What I don't want is for my base to be so big that it gets really thin, because then it just becomes floppy. That's what I don't want. So I want my base to be big enough, but not too big and not too thin. So I think that's about good. Now I'm going to put my base on my colored paper. Now, time to make my first coil. So I take in the next piece of clay and I roll it into a ball. And then I start to roll it like a snake, some of you might say. But we're making a coil pot. So we're going to call it a coil. I'm making my coil by using all of my hand and rolling that coil. I'm not just using 2 fingers or just 1 finger, because look what happens when I do that. It gets super thin and then it will break. That's what we don't want to do. So I roll it in a ball, and then I begin to roll it like a coil, nice and even. I might need to shift it over and roll it some, and then shift it over and roll it some more. Now, when I think it's about long enough, and sometimes I have to experiment to figure it out, but when I think it's about long enough, then I turn it into a circle, and I squish the 2 ends together, and I can kind of measure it and see if it's big enough before I lay it down. Yeah, I think that's about good. So I'm going to lay the coil down and gently press. Now, I do the same thing with all of these coils. Okay, now that I have my coils all rolled up and stacked up onto my coil pot, I'm going to just use my fingers, my pointer finger and my thumb, just kind of go through around the inside and make sure everything is all nice and tight, a little bit squished together. I have to be very careful that I don't squeeze too hard because my clay is still really wet and molding, and it can ruin the shape. Now the last thing I want to do is fix this lip down here. If I move closer, you can see there's still some extra clay around the edge here. I wonder, oh yeah, I can gently pull it off and kind of squish this clay into that bottom coil. But if that doesn't work for you, then what I can do is I can leave it on the paper and push that extra clay up into the coil. Now my coil pot is ready to dry, and next week I will teach you how to paint the coil pot. And that is how I create a coil pot.